Let's start right there. It is easy to be consumed with the politics of this. As Mika just said, that the White House likes to play little small ball political digs. But we're at the point now. It's begun and it's about to accelerate, where the real world impact for your average Americans is about to really grow because of the shutdown. Talk to us, please, about what it's like, what it's going to be like in your state.
Well, it's going to be painful. We've got about 600,000 of our people, hundreds of thousands of families that rely on food assistance each month. And this president could avoid all of that pain. He could use emergency funds, or think about it this way. This is a president talking about a $20 billion bailout for Argentina in the middle of a shutdown, but won't forward the dollars to feed our own people. It's time for him to step up, and if not, for Congress to, in the least, pass a bill to fund these benefits.
And let's be clear, Governor, particularly in your state, you, of course, a Democrat in the state house, but Kentucky reliably goes Republican in presidential elections. It went for Donald Trump 3 different times, including in 2024. So talk to us about how the impacts of this are going to cut across party lines. And some of those who are going to be hurt the most are those who cast their ballots for President Trump.
Well, I'm not worried about who people voted for at the moment right now. I'm worried if they have enough food. What's going to happen here is children are going to be hungry in the mornings and not be able to concentrate in school. Seniors aren't going to be able to sleep because they're hungry at night. You know, I think about my faith. The miracle of the fishes and the loaves is in every book of the gospel. That's how important to my values, making sure that everybody has enough to eat is. Again, a president who's talking about buying beef from Argentina can certainly use emergency or other funds to make sure that people, don't go hungry during this shutdown.
And Eugene Robinson is striking. The White House has said they won't use emergency federal funds to help out here. And it doesn't matter who you vote for, but we should note that the states that rely the heaviest on this federal assistance are deep red ones.
Yes, they are indeed. And let's emphasize the money is there. There is a reserve that the White House could immediately use and continue paying these SNAP benefits. It would be easy. It doesn't require any legislation or anything. The money is there and can be spent, and the White House is refusing to spend it. Governor Beshear, given that circumstance, given that the White House won't use emergency funds, is there anything you can do as a governor to if not make up the whole shortfall, at least help people who are going to be hungry?
This isn't the only program that's impacted. The TANF program is hit too, and that provides aid to struggling families for a period of time. We're going to be able to step in and help in that program. That's about $12.5 million a month. A state like mine can cover that. But in SNAP, we're not only talking about $100+ million. The USDA has actually sent us a letter saying we are not to move forward with providing any information to the vendors that could otherwise provide some of this assistance. Yes, that relies on federal assistance, but we are told we cannot do these things. And so what I see in my state is neighbors getting ready to help neighbors, people wanting to make sure that no one goes hungry. Help is surging into food banks. But listen, if the federal government doesn't step up, if the president doesn't say, listen, my job as the president of the United States is in the very least to make sure everybody has enough to eat, then there will be millions of Americans that go hungry this month.
Governor, it's not, of course, just the food insecurity issue, hunger that you're facing, grappling with in Kentucky because of the way that the federal government is operating. It's also health care and the fact that lots of people who rely on the ACA marketplace are at risk as well in the same moment. So if you could just spell out, as you refer back to biblical teachings about the most simple things, hunger and also just life, well-being, why do you think this government, this White House specifically, is operating this way? To just spell it out for people, if this is so clear to you, what does it say about Donald Trump?
Jesus said a doctor is for the sick, but there's a whole lot of sick people that aren't going to be able to afford to see one.
Panic is setting in across the country as programs that keep nearly 42 million Americans fed are set to lose funding in just 4 days.
I'm only down to 1 pack of chicken, and I don't even know what I'm going to do for the next month. My son won't have his milk, and we won't have food. I'll go without eating it or anything as long as my kids eat.
SNAP isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Everything comes from my SNAP benefits. I haven't even gotten to the 1st of November, and I'm already shaking in my boots.
Benefits will fall victim to the government shutdown on Saturday. And while some states are using emergency funding as a stopgap, it won't be enough if the shutdown drags on. One of those states, Minnesota, where nearly 8% of the population depends on food stamps, including children, seniors, and people with disabilities. And we just learned minutes ago that more than 24 states have now sued the Trump administration in a last-ditch effort to maintain SNAP funding. Joining us now is Democratic Congresswoman from Minnesota, Angie Craig, ranking member of the Agriculture Committee, which oversees SNAP. I'm always happy to have you as a guest, but particularly now, given this lawsuit that was just filed, what can you tell us about it?
Well, I'm very proud of my Attorney General, Keith Ellison, in Minnesota. He's among 22 other states who filed an action against the Trump administration today. Candidly, I said last week, we need to sue their asses. This is illegal what they're doing. We have appropriated money. It's over $5 billion into a contingency fund that until last week on the USDA website itself, it said that this money could be used during a government shutdown. And we know they also have the authority to also move other money around and pay November SNAP benefits. The bottom line, Chris, the administration is choosing not to pay 440,000 Minnesotans their SNAP benefits in November. They're choosing not to pay 16 million children who have access to SNAP benefits. They are choosing to do this. It's illegal, it's immoral, and it's probably one of the most cruel things we've seen out of this administration so far.
Well, let me talk about the other side of this. The Agriculture Department has a new message on its website blaming Democrats for this upcoming lapse. And so Speaker Mike Johnson, who also defends the Agriculture Department's refusal to step in and use contingency funds to help, said this.
We want to fund SNAP, but they did the legal research and they could not find a 1930s era statute to bootstrap that one. The contingency fund was approved by Congress, and when the Democrats voted against the CR, they voted against the ability of us to use that money. And so 42 million people are going to suffer because they're playing political games.
So I just want to repeat that and get your reaction. He says when you, the Democrats, voted against the CR, the continuing resolution, you voted against the ability to use that money. What do you say to that?
I say if his mouth is moving these days, he's lying. There has never been a lapse in appropriations for SNAP in any other government shutdown. This isn't new territory for this administration. They know. Secretary Brooke Rollins, her own website up until Friday night spelled this out clearly, that contingency fund can be used to fund SNAP benefits in November. It wouldn't be enough to fund the entirety of the benefits, but she also has the authority to move money around to make November benefits whole. So anyone who says the administration can't do this is just lying through their teeth, which frankly, I've just become accustomed to during this shutdown. And look, where's Donald Trump? He needs to come back to the United States and get this government open. He's literally in Japan today telling people to buy foreign cars. This is insane. First, he wants us to buy Argentine beef, and this week he wants us to buy foreign cars. What happened to putting America first?
Democrats are playing this pretty well. Because one of the concerns people had with a lot of the corporate Democrats in particular, not the Bernie Mamdani AOC wing, because they've been focused on issues of inequality and insecurity, but the mainline Democrats, the view was they're out of touch. They're out of touch with what the actual regular person needs. And that's why people voted for Trump. Now, you and I pulled our hair out at that, because as much as it's probably true that some of the rich Democrat corporate types are out of touch, the GOP is that much more out of touch. And worst case, even if they're not out of touch in the GOP, they have their ear to the ground and they don't care. They don't care, right? So put that aside, though. That's the perception. And so Democrats taking this moment to say we're fighting for healthcare and we're fighting for hungry Americans, I think that's a good strategy. And I also like this strategy of using the courts. Now, here's the thing. We could be high-minded and philosophical about it, or we could do what Trump did. And honestly, to a degree, you have to play by the rules of the game that he's tilted. And sometimes you bring lawsuits, even if you don't necessarily think they're going to work. Because I don't know if you can sue Trump on this. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Like, I know you can't. I don't know if a case would be successful, right? I don't know. I don't know if a judge could impose that Trump fund the government. I think the judge would say that's Congress's job and their separation of powers. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But it seems to me like the point of a lawsuit like that isn't to win. It's to bring attention. You want to show people that you're fighting for them. Sometimes you have to do things because of optics. This is politics. There's not science in a lab, right? And in politics, sometimes you have to do something for the optics, even if the actual effects are minimal at best. And so, yes, sue Trump over this. Sue Trump and the GOP over stealing healthcare and stealing food from people. Have blue states do it. Have Congress people do it. Have them do it. Because even if it fails, then you can say, look, man, we're doing whatever it takes. And I will never apologize for bringing forward every tool I have to get food to hungry Americans and healthcare to Americans that need it. That's the optics you need. And then let Trump hem and haw about it. Let a right-wing judge embarrass him.